Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. What a good turnout, eh? You get these turnouts with a couple of things. You get it with a subject that's close to everybody's heart, and a subject that they really want to know about, or one that's walking a thin line. Most people, I don't think there'd be anyone in this room or in chamber that's anti-inland rail or anti-SAP, but it's the information that they get that's concerning for them. And my feedback already from what you folks have done from Planning New South Wales is it's really, really worthwhile you being here this morning, and I can't see this being any different. But look, welcome to Planning New South Wales. Narrabri District Chamber of Commerce has a long, proud history of starting in 1927, and I don't think, I think that was before even maybe the municipal council was there then, and maybe the regional councils, but certainly not what we've got at the moment. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that, and we're pretty proud that we're still there fighting away as volunteers for our members and community. It's very important to us. And I was delighted when I was contacted by Donna with letting us know about this function, and as you can see, we've had a good response. So without any further ado, Anthea, I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. I just want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, the Gamilaroi people, and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and any Aboriginal people who are in the room today. So I'm Anthea Sargent. I head up the master planning for special activation precincts as part of the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment. And we're working really closely with the Department of Regional New South Wales to roll out the master planning for special activation precinct. So this is the 6th special activation precinct that we've commenced the planning for. And I've been involved in all of them, and we've learnt a lot along the way. So Narrabri being the 6th special activation precinct, you're going to benefit from some of the learnings that we've had from the other projects that we've delivered. I'm not going to go into each of those projects just now because I've got a slide coming up that's going to do that. But what I did want to do is just introduce what special activation precincts are. So special activation precincts are New South Wales Government's approach to stimulating economic development in regional New South Wales. So it is driven by economics and driven by attracting investors and businesses to set up and grow in these precincts. But it's not just about attracting new businesses, it's also about encouraging and supporting existing businesses to expand. So they are economic projects, but we also want to do them in an appropriate way. So that's why we're embarking on a strategic planning process to look at how we can rezone the land and how we can facilitate development in a streamlined way. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the New South Wales planning system and getting development consent for developments, but it can take a while. Anywhere from 6 months to 2 years is the current time frame for getting DAs approved through either council or state government. So we're looking to slash those timeframes by doing these strategic planning up front. We're basically going to be doing the bulk of the studies, the technical studies, at the master planning phase, which is quite unique. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's what we're doing. And what our plan is that once the technical studies and the master plan is done, and so the master plan is essentially going to be a rezoning process, businesses will be able to come in and get approval to build within 30 days. So it's really cutting those timeframes quite significantly. And I should say that to be able to get that 30-day approval, the development needs to comply with the master plan and a delivery plan. So we're essentially setting up a planning framework that will allow exempt or complying development rather than development approval through the traditional pathways. We're right at the very start now. So this is the first time that we're talking to the community. We would have liked to have done it a bit sooner, but the events of this year have kind of kept us away, but we're here now, and it's really important that we bring the community and businesses along the journey. So no decisions have been made yet about where the special activation precinct is going to go. We're starting with a bit of a clean sheet of paper, and we know that there are studies and things that have already been done, but we want to look at it again and ensure that we've got the evidence base to support what we're planning here. Other aspects of special activation precincts are about investing in infrastructure in these locations. So it's not just a rezoning process where we come and we do the planning and then we let the private sector do what they need to do. New South Wales Government is actually going to be putting quite a bit of money on the table to put in the infrastructure, and then that will attract businesses to want to develop in these locations. We've still got to go through a business case process to get that infrastructure and funding approved. But just by way of example, Parks received $180 million for their enabling infrastructure. Wagga received $150 million. So we are talking reasonably significant investments that the government's looking to make to put in the infrastructure that will then facilitate the development. And finally, this is a collaboration piece across all different areas of government. So while we as in Department of Planning and Industry and Regional New South Wales are taking the lead, we're working really closely with other government departments to ensure that everyone is at the table right at the very beginning and helping us with our decision-making processes. So we will be working really closely with Transport for New South Wales, Inland Rail, EPA, the environment part of DPI, to ensure that they are making decisions with us and therefore fully supporting what we're planning. And we know from experience that that's sometimes been a limiting factor, is not having those subsequent approvals from other agencies. We're also working really closely with council, so we can't do a project like this without council support. So it's really important to us that council's part of is at the table, working with us in all of our workshops, helping make decisions with us. That's it's a really key part. I just wanted to touch briefly on the other 5 precincts, just to give you a bit of a feel for what we've done and how we're bringing some of that experience to the Narrabri SAP. So Parks was our first special activation precinct. It was announced back in 2018. We did the master plan, which was approved in June of 2020, and the delivery plan has just been approved within the last month. So Parks construction is underway. Investors are knocking on the door. We've actually got a business that's already set up and is operating, and there's a lot of interest in Parks. Wagga is, the master plan's also been approved. That was back in May of this year. A delivery plan is in the final stages of being prepared, ready for exhibition in February of next year. Wagga is also under construction as well, but that's because council got some approvals ahead of the business case process to put in their intermodal facilities. So that is it complete or is it still under pardon? The rail's connected. So there's still a bit of construction activity happening out at Wagga. Moree, which is just up the road from here, or down the road? Up the road. Up. The master plan has been finalised. We haven't been able to announce it yet because we're just waiting to line up politicians to come out and do that announcement. Unlikely now, given that we're 10 days out of Christmas, so it might be in the new year when that announcement will be made. But I can tell you the master plan's been finalised. Snowy Mountains is a slightly different one. So those 3 first projects are all on Inland Rail. So they're all looking at expanding the agriculture and regional outputs as a result of Inland Rail coming through. Inland Rail, as you all know, opens up the freight markets to domestic and international customers. So we are really looking at targeting agricultural businesses, advanced manufacturing, and freight and logistics type businesses. But Snowy Mountains is around tourism and sport. So if you've been down to the Snowy Mountains in the past, you'll know that it's really an economy that's probably got a 3-month time frame associated with it. There's a little bit more activation that does happen around summertime with mountain biking, but that really is an opportunity to expand. Having a destination which has only got a 3-month tourism cycle creates challenges around housing. So a lot of the housing stock can survive on 3 months, and so they just have exorbitant rents, and it's really locking out a lot of the locals out of that housing market. So that project is around providing that year-round tourism opportunities, to look at the housing diversity and the housing supply, but also encouraging more development around tourism and sport. And then finally, we've got Williamtown, which is located just to the south of the Newcastle Airport. The Williamtown Special Activation Precinct is focused on defence and educational opportunities. It's also, for those of you familiar with that location, it's a highly constrained environment. We've got flooding and water issues, and it's not like floods like what you're experiencing now. Williamtown floods probably all year. There's wetlands in the area, and there's also PFAS contamination as a result of the defence activities that have occurred in the past. So it's a real challenge, and we've got people that are living right up in almost adjacent to the airport, over the top of PFAS contaminated water. So managing all that is quite a challenge, but there's also quite significant environmental and biodiversity habitat in the region. We've got koalas and swift parrots and things like that. So we've got to try and manage all of those technical complexities, which means that the Williamtown master plan has been delayed, so we're expecting that's going to go out on exhibition early next year. So that's kind of the projects and you know, some of, you know, what we've been doing, and I hope it gives you a bit of a feel for you know, some of the experience that we are going to bring to the Narrabri project. I'm now going to hand over to Tristan. Tristan is a director in my team, and he's going to talk specifically about Narrabri.
Tristan Kell. So I've been working with Anthea and Donna for the last couple of years, and previously I was at Wagga Council, so familiar with the SAP process. And if anyone wants to ask a question as I'm going, I'm happy to take a couple of questions as well to make it interactive as well if it doesn't quite make sense. But first of all, we just want to say we're really excited to be in Narrabri. I think we've changed the approach a little bit here, and I think that will really benefit not just the SAP itself, but the broader town. So we'll just quickly talk about the investigation area itself. So normally what we've done with the Inland Rail SAPs is we've just focused in on an area directly adjacent to the Inland Rail and just focused on the rezoning being for employment uses. But what we've done here is we're going with a bit of a two-pronged approach. So we're doing a bit of a 10K radius around the town, so that we're actually looking at other things, to look at long-term housing, like do we have enough land zone for residential to support workers coming in. We'll have an analysis of the infrastructure and community around to make sure that we're not just rezoning this new Butte precinct, but we've got to make sure that the skills are there, and we've got the services to support it. And then we'll have a bit of a town planning exercise of the town itself. So we'll also do like a structure plan for the town, which will hopefully set it up over the next 40 years. So that's a similar approach to what we're doing in Jindabyne. And it's quite an enjoyable process, and I think it's something that the community can get the most out of. And part of the reason is because we've got those key decision makers at the table now. So we've got those key government agencies all locked in the room now to make sure that we can, get decisions, because decisions can take a while in government. So what I'll talk about is the employment area itself. So obviously council's recently undertaken the N2IP process, and they've rezoned it. What we'll do is essentially we put a blank page down. So we've just been in a procurement phase, and we've engaged, say, 15 technical fields ranging from community analysis to detailed engineering, water, utilities, etc. And then we'll look at where the best land needs to go to support employment generating activities. So the SAP is, as Anthea mentioned, is focused about identifying where regional enterprise or industry can occur, and that they can occur there and be satisfied that they're in the right spot. So one of the key challenges we've learned from Wagga, Wagga's got a functioning industrial precinct at the moment. Sometimes businesses go there, they invest tens of millions of dollars, but then with sensitive receptors nearby or residents, they get impacted by odour and noise, and then EPA planning have to deal with complaints, and it's frustrating for residents and it's frustrating for business. So what we try and do right up front with the master plan is we do all that technical work. We do like baseline analysis. We make sure that we can put the noisy industries in the right spot, the industries that are going to smell in the right spot, and then we also focus on land use safety as well. So it's evidence-based, and that if we need to put buffer areas in where we have to restrict certain uses, we do that as well. But it's an evidence-based approach so that we can provide certainty for business, but also the community, so the community knows what's going to go in there. I think it's very important to emphasise that we're right at the start of the process now, so we've literally just kicked off. We've just engaged the consultants, so they're just doing some baseline analysis now, so what's been done previously, what are the constraints we're dealing with, and then by about March next year we come back and we lock ourselves in the room for 2 days, and we've got to come up with 3 scenarios. And that's when we'll actually come back to you, and fresh off the tracing paper we'll show you 3 different options, and we'll say this is what we're considering. And that's really good for us because we get a feel from what the locals are feeling, what the community's feeling, and then by June we try and refine that to 1 option, and then obviously we'll show that to beforehand. So that will include where the employment uses are going, what needs to occur to make that work, so looking at roads, sewer, those types of things. And then we'll also have a crack at a strategic plan for the town as well. So that's the next couple of months, so it'll be quite busy. I think, as Anthea's mentioned, we'll be here a lot, so you'll probably be sick of us, but we'll certainly be talking to you along the way.
I think we've covered off, sorry, I'm Donna. Hi everyone. I work with Anthea and Tristan, and I manage community engagement across all of our 6 special activation precincts, so it's a pleasure being with you here today, and thank you, Russell, for facilitating this as well. As we've mentioned, Anthea's mentioned, Tristan's mentioned, our community engagement strategy is a bit different to what you would normally expect from government. We're just at the start of the master planning phase now, and so hence we're here to kickstart the conversations and get some initial feedback and introduce us to you and get to know you a bit better as well. We will be out here, we'll be in Narrabri throughout our whole master planning phase. As Tristan and Anthea mentioned, our next major milestone is in March, when we have what we call an inquiry by design process. We get all our consultants in the room, we come up with 3 scenarios. We want to test those scenarios with the community and get your feedback. And then a couple of months after that, we go back into the room again for a 1 day to refine those 3 scenarios from the feedback that we get. We might need our technical consultants to do a bit more work and some more investigations as well to refine it down to a preferred plan, if you like. And so we will come back out to the community, get feedback on that preferred plan. So by the time we go out on exhibition, you know exactly what's going to be in the master plan. So there'll be no surprises. That's from a business perspective, but also from the landowners that actually live in the area as well, because they're our primary audience as well. And so they will know they're impacted, what the future means for them. So as I said, when we go out on exhibition, there's no surprises. The exhibition process is the formal way to provide your feedback, but we want that informal, as Anthea was saying, that informal feedback throughout the whole process as well. You'll be hearing from us. We'll, liaise through Russell. Really keen to hear about some of the business ideas and opportunities that you've mentioned throughout today as well. And so, I'll touch base with Russell next week to try and, facilitate that and get some more ideas so we can feed it into our consultants to make.
Sorry, that was one of my slides and I did jump over it. So there are 5 things that government's doing to invest in special activation precincts. So 2 of them are planning solutions, so that's what we're responsible for. So it's the government-led studies and the streamlined planning. So I did talk to that. The third one is government-led development. So Regional New South Wales has set up the Regional Growth Development Corporation, which is being given the power to develop the land. And when we say develop the land, it is about the infrastructure. So they're going to put the infrastructure in. So all the contracts with the contractors will be led out of the Development Corporation. The investment is the decision that government will make as to how much money is going into that infrastructure. And then the 5th element is around business concierge. So New South Wales government has a business concierge service where an investor, it doesn't matter who they are, they could be a global one, they could be a domestic one, they'll come and work with New South Wales government to say, I want to build an energy from waste precinct or project. Where can I do it? And so that business concierge will then help that investor work out where is the best spot for an energy from waste facility. Now, energy for waste is a really good example because there's only 4 locations in New South Wales where that could go, because that's the new policy that EPA has developed. But one of those locations is in parks. So that in a business concierge service will work with those investors to help them go through all the different things that they need to go through to be able to build that facility in parks. The planning of it's only a small component. So yes, we've set up a streamlined planning pathway for that type of a development, but there are other things that they'll need to do, like, connecting to water, power. Even though they're generating power, they'll still need a power source, etc. All those sorts of things. That's what the business concierge is going to help develop investors do. So while they do have a bit of a state focused, they're not just looking at the 6 activation precincts. They are really significantly invested in the special activation precincts because they know that it's going to be easier and more attractive in these precincts.
Thanks very much, folks, and thank you, folks, for your interest in coming. This whole production here today will be on the Chamber website. Thank you, folks. That was very informative, and it's probably I've learnt more here today, and I've been involved than I have in the past 2 years, probably. Thank you very much.